So I have a teething baby, but I had some thoughts. I've had some thoughts the last few, um, since yesterday. So my, so my two eldest sons, the almost 3 year old and almost 5 year old. Oh, he is five already. Goodness, were playing, and then it turned into a fight because my almost 3 year old Ezekiel loves to hit his brother, like especially when he's tired. It's almost as if his brother becomes like just this stress relief type of thing. And Elijah's pretty chill generally, like super chill. He generally, right? And he'll kind of move away, ask him to stop, tell us that he's hitting him. So most of the time we're like, obviously we're like, Ezekiel, stop, no hitting, be kind, gentle hands, all of that. And sometimes, most of the time, Ezekiel listens, but sometimes he doesn't. So he'll keep doing it, right? So then Elijah oftentimes will not hit him back, but sometimes he will hit him. And last night was a big one, okay? So Elijah is 2.5 years older than Ezekiel. So he pushes him and he ends up, he hits him, but the hitting was so hard that he ended up on the bedside table and hit and got hurt here. And Ezekiel was inconsolable. So Tim's like hugging him, and I wasn't there. I was looking after Enoch. So I'm trying to, so I could hear that the crying wasn't stopping. Ezekiel's very good at kind of like just stopping to cry. Like once you give him a hug, he's like, okay, moving on. So he's not stopping. So I go over and I take him away, and from Tim, and as I'm holding him, he's crying and there's blood coming out. So I'm like, oh my God, like what happened? Like, how did you hit him? Blah, 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 blah. And can you hear Ezekiel going crazy? I've locked myself in the bedroom. So, so I'm panicking, right? So I'm just like, wait, what happened? Like, and you could just see Elijah get so fearful and so scared. And he's like, Mommy, I hit him, but I didn't mean for him to get hurt like that, and he was hitting me first and blah, blah, blah. But you could just see this total fear overcome him. And in that moment, I remembered a verse in the Bible that says, there's no fear in love. Perfect love casts out fear. Okay? So then in that moment, I could have either gone, how dare you, blah, 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 and start yelling and like, do what was done to me when I was younger, when I was little. So, but in that moment, I catch myself and I'm like, Elijah, Mommy loves you, and I still love you. I'm trying to parent in a way that my kids know that they're loved regardless of what they've done. So I'm like, I love you so much. And I said, we're going to talk about this after I've comforted Ezekiel. So with Ezekiel, we nursed and I soothed him, and he was fine and he fell asleep, no concussions or anything. So then I go into Elijah, and it's his bedtime as well, and we have a little talk, and I tell him, again, reaffirm again that I love him, but remember that you're way bigger than your brother. And when you hit him, I say when because it happens. When you hit him, you need to not hit him so hard. And I know he's frustrating, and when he hits you and you can walk away, and we talk about, walking away, telling an adult, all of that. But for me, what stuck with me was as soon as and this is the point that I really want to make, when I told him that I loved him, he relaxed. Before we even talked about the whole thing, he relaxed. You could see the fear disappear when I told him that I loved him. And that anything that would come, if I would, because there has to be consequences to actions, right? And so any consequences that come are not going to come out of a place of hatred or even anger or, malice. They're going to come from a place of love. And I couldn't help but think about God and think about. So if you follow me on social media, whatever, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, you will notice, YouTube, my podcasts, I talk a lot about identity. And the big thing for me about identity is love. Love that has been realized. Okay, I'm sure you can hear the white noise in the room. It's just the white noise trying to put the baby to sleep because he's teething already. He's barely 4 months. He's going to be 4 months this week. So love, like when we know that we're known and we're loved, it changes everything. It changes how we act, how we, like everything, literally. And I think about my own life and how I went from place to place. I've always been so anxious, full of fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. So I did the most. I was the loudest girl in the room. I was the girl with so much makeup. I was the girl, and I wear makeup now, so I'm not saying anything bad about makeup per se, but I was the girl in the loudest outfit. I had so many pairs of shoes that was super different bright colored shoes, and there's nothing with wearing bright colored shoes. What I'm saying is I was doing it out of a place of notice me and love me and tell me that I'm worthy, tell me that I'm of value, tell me that I'm of worth, that I'm loved, that I'm lovable, that it is possible to love me. And because I did not feel loved, because I did not feel accepted, I did not feel worthy, I did not feel loved. And so that verse in 1 John chapter 4 verse 18 says, perfect love casts out fear. There's no fear in love. Fear has to do with punishment. But love, so a life that has not experienced divine love, and a life that has not experienced parental love, a life that has not experienced true friendship love, a life that has not experienced self-love, a life that has not experienced love from a special somebody, is a life, can be and is a life full of fear. And for me, that is just mind-blowing. So yeah, and literally the whole day today, I couldn't stop thinking about that text. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love kicks out fear. So now that I know, I've shared this in other videos, and this video is turning out to be longer than I expected. And forgive me, I look like a mother of three at the end of the day, before the witching, in the middle of the witching hour. So I've shared this, but I'll share it again because it was such a defining moment for me. 3 years ago, I graduated didn't get hired, was getting a lot of criticism and hatred and stuff from super conservative Christians who do not think that women should be in ministry. So all of this is happening, and the it took me by surprise. It still does. Even though I knew that the denomination that I belonged to had people who were more progressive and people who were not, but I think it hadn't quite hit me. It wasn't reality yet until it happened. So it took me by surprise and made me question everything, made me question my faith in God, made me question all the years that I had poured into the church, and made me question some people that I had thought that were family and friends, and made me question so many things. But the biggest thing for me, the awakening for me, was the realization that my identity was rooted in people's affirmation. It was rooted in it was superficial. It wasn't rooted in love. It wasn't rooted in like pure, realized, completely felt, completely known love. Okay, so I'm at rock bottom and I get this realization, and I realize that my identity has been one of, actually, as a matter of fact, I didn't really know who I was. I had become all things for all people and not in the right way. Um, yeah. So that realization, and then I started reading verses about love. But the biggest thing for me was I'm lying on my bedroom floor, in the dark. Okay, I was so depressed, and I realized I tried everything, like binge eating, purging, over exercising, just everything, literally all my drugs of choice. Okay, so I tried everything, and nothing was working. And I realized that the only thing that works for me was God, but I needed a new revelation of God. So I'm lying on my bedroom floor, crying and praying. And for the first time, and I know I've shared this before, but I want to share it again. But for the first time, I met the God that loved me, warts and all. The God that saw me overeating, and yet still loved me, saw me stick my fingers down my throat, and yet loved me, saw me overindulge in everything, be extra in everything, and yet still love me. I met that God on my bedroom floor. Sadly, I have met that God very few times in a church building, but I met him on my bedroom floor while I felt hopeless and helpless, and while I had hit rock bottom. And that love changed me, completely changed me. I now know, I have realized that perfect love, and that fear has been cast out of my life forever. I do have moments, obviously, where the fear starts to creep in, but I'm also able to kind of run back to the source of love. And just like yesterday, while I was kneeling down, I said to my son, I love you, even though you've hurt your brother. I love you. That's the same thing God says to me, and that's the same thing that God says to you. You are loved. I love you. And there's nothing you can do to make me love you more or less. Yes, you've hurt your brother, but I still love you. There might be consequences for your actions. There will be consequences for your actions, but you are still loved. I still love you. And that for me is everything. And then that love then flows into us, right? Flows into me. And I'm able to love myself, and then I'm able to love other people. I'm able to love Tim better than I've ever loved him before. I'm able to love my kids better than I've ever loved them before. I'm able to love friends and family better than I've ever loved them before. But it starts from that source of love. So today I want you to know that you're loved. You are loved, and perfect love casts out fear.